Hi, everybody. Here we are. Jeffrey and I are here talking about happiness, trying to look smiley. And for those of you who don't, we're going to see. Oh, we got a couple people in.
Okay, I'm going to look at the comments. I mean, as if I could see something.
Yes, Jeffrey's still recovering from getting his eyes fixed. But anyway, the reason I kind of came up to this topic was um, there's a guy whose stuff I follow, and here's his name, Stephen Schwartz. And notice that Stephen is spelled with an A, not an E. And he's a commentator on all kinds of interesting subjects, some of which cross over with ours. And he did this whole thing on happiness, and I heard him do a thing a year ago, and the U.S. had slipped into getting close to the 20th in the happiness scale, and it's an international survey that they take. He's not a part of how they take it, but it's done with a lot of universities. And when you see his shows, everything's really well documented. And so in 2023, we're in the right at 19 or 20. In 2024, this year, we've dropped to the 23rd position, which is just a really steep drop for one country to go through. And he was talking about, so I was watching it. The happiest countries in the world are the Nordic countries like Finland and Sweden and Denmark and those places. And the reason that we took such a precipitous drop in our ranking was because the people that are under 30, and this is what affects the people under 30 that has pushed us down 3 points. And that'll give you some idea. The age group of kids under the age of 30 is bigger than the boomers now. There's more of them than there are boomers. Mm. And they feel stressed, irritable, fatigued, headaches, worried, and paranoid. And that's why you see all those ads on Facebook talking about where you can get therapy and who can help you. And so he started by saying, well, what do people think makes them happy? And we'll look at that. I remember in my 30s being stressed, irritable, fatigued, and having headaches, worried, and paranoid. But I had kids and I worked and I went through divorce. So what can I say? But these are the things that when they just talk to people first, they say are going to make them happy. 5 factors that do not produce happiness. When they put all their things together: money, material goods, being young, obviously youth brought us all down, physical attractiveness, and most of all, children. And those are factors across the world. Those don't help you feel better.
But chocolate does.
Oh no, that's part of it. But one of the things I've learned from studying the nations that are happier, like Nordic countries, is that happiness is contagious.
That was the most fascinating part of the whole thing.
I know that Harvard's been studying people. They started the study 40 years ago, but they've chunked off the ones because a lot of them died. So they now have 4,739 people in this Harvard study, and it's called the Heartbeat Study from Harvard. And one of the things they did this time was they went, why are the people in the Nordic countries so much happier than us? What's going on? If none of the measures our society, American society, is measured, is going to make you happier. And the bottom line comes down, and this is nothing everybody in this community doesn't know. You're happy when you're around happy people. Mm-hmm. So, and it's the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. that also participates with Harvard and a lot of other universities in these studies. And what they've done by going through as nations rose up in their happiness and they fell back, they said if 10% of the population really has active, happy consciousness, it can shift the whole population. But when you get to 9% below, where you have so much pressure of unhappiness and isolation, you slip away. And it's not just your best friends or people you talk to frequently. It's 3 degrees of separation. And I found this one fascinating. And this came out of a European study. A friend lives 1.6 kilometers from you. And if they get happy, it increases by 25% the chances you're going to get happy. And so if you surround yourself with happy people or people that just don't let themselves get taken down, and Maria has perfect health. She sounds like a person that's trying to be happy for everybody. It'll change the values. And they were talking about a study they did where they studied people who had friends who'd gotten good sized raises, say $5,000. And then they saw how that happiness did not necessarily carry through to the group. But if someone had other things they were happy about, they were just genuinely happy. Yeah, this is where we're getting to, Deb. Stop fear-mongering in the media. We'd have a lot more happiness in America, and then fix the healthcare system. Well, that's true too. But they were talking about finding activities that really made people happy. And I talked to Jeffrey about this 3 or 4 days ago after I've been watching the guy's stuff, Stephen Schwartz. He's on YouTube. I'm going to tell you guys, he's a bit dry.
A little more than a bit.
And he puts out a daily Schwartz report, which you can get through email. And I really just read the headlines and then I skim through to look for the valuable information. But this is the sort of activity that they have found, all the studies have found, for you to get yourself happy. How can you start with yourself so you can affect all those other people that are around you? And it says, commit fully to anything you're doing. Lose all awareness of time. And we call that going with the flow. When you're doing like an art project, or you're working on something for the internet, or you're studying cards, or you're reading a book that's really moving you and teaching you a lot, and you commit fully to it, you get into it, and that's called going with the flow. The second thing was give yourself over. Just say, okay, I'm going to be doing this at this time, and don't let extraneous thinking creep in. So you're not, it's just look at the material you're working with or what you're working with, but don't think about, oh, I'm going to show this to da-da-da in 3 days and they're going to love it. That breaks the spell. You just have to be happy with what you're doing and accept it at that. This is living in the now. Do it without extraneous thoughts. And that's the hardest one for me because I'm always thinking of extraneous, and I are good friends. And then be proactive in your life. Don't be passive and thinking it's going to find me. It means try the different things you hear about. Try meditation. Try learning a spiritual art. That'll be fun. And the work may be demanding. Whatever you're doing, years ago you might have thought, oh God, there's no way I can do that. But now it's effortless. And life is made up. The one thing base they found for most people was life was made up of the choice they made of what to do with that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about this, not to tell tales out of school, but Jeffrey and I are teaching a tarot class. And there was a woman in our tarot class who's now retired. And so she's just kind of running around doing things she's always wanted to do. She went on a vacation. She went into a museum And she started looking at the pictures, and all of a sudden she was being drawn into the pictures, and she knew who the artist was. She knew what was going on around the character that was in the portraits. She did this for a whole museum full of pictures. And she said, "What's happening to me?" And then later that night, she was out with her friends and they were going down the street. And there was a street musician who was playing a violin, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing a violin on the street. And he had like a little thing he stood up on so you could see him above the crowd. And she could see the energy of the music he was making. She could see it swirling around him. And she's looking at her friends like, "Do you see this?" And she found out that this whole psychic part of her is finally able to break through because one, she's retired now, so she doesn't have those kind of exigencies, but she can remember feeling this way when she was a kid, and she let it go to live a responsible life. Now it's coming back in. So I think a lot of what the happiness quotient has to do is our own development.
And I think our perspective and what you're concentrating on. I
Mhm,
mean, on any given day, it could be the same day,
mhm,
and I can be like worried and bothered about things that aren't perfect in my life, which is name a category, or I can be like, oh well, this is good, this is working, this is so it's about that, and it's also about getting busy, like you
mhm,
said. So it's really about getting busy, and sometimes getting busy for me, it could be like just going up to the garden and weeding things and like talking to them a little bit. I paint
you
wild.
better explain your garden.
What do you mean?
They may not know about your garden,
Oh,
Jeffrey.
I have a garden. I live in Mexico City, and right above my apartment, I have a rooftop garden, which is mine. And I've I've always wanted a garden, and now I have a garden. So I probably have about, oh my gosh, 60 or 70 plants up there.
Mhm,
And just taking care of them really brings me tremendous joy. And, you know, it could be cooking a meal. It could be really cooking a meal and like really being into it, or trying to cook something new that you've never tried before, or
mhm,
challenging yourself to like a different ethnic food that you've, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go get the ingredients, and
mhm,
I'm going to look some stuff up, or maybe I'll you know try this or try that. And that's the thing. It's like, be in the stuff that makes you happy. Be in this, because it's really easy to sit around and worry about this or that, or this isn't going right, and projecting about blah 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 blah.
mhm,
Happiness is a choice, and you
mhm.
have to like actively pursue it. You have to actively pursue it.
And you have to surround yourself with people that are healthy.
Yeah.
If you sit there and I had a friend who was just a whiner no matter what happened.
Right.
Well, it's easy for you to do. I can't do it. And,
Exactly.
I believe everybody can do everything anyone else can do. And she has got to the point that her inability to do that, she wanted me to crash with her. And
Right.
I had to say, "I love you. Thank you for being here all these years. But I really can't take this attitude, not one more day." And the weird thing is, this week, a friend of mine called me and he said he'd gone out to lunch with her or breakfast, and all she did was crab about things. And he said he hadn't been around her in a couple weeks. And he said maybe it was just a really bad day for her. And it's not that we're not sympathetic for people who have bad times, but if all you ever have is an unhappy time, and what Debbie said about the fear mongering in the media, that's true, you know, and the fact that they got everybody really happy at the Democratic convention and look at all these great things that are coming. And now they're nitpicking to the point that that's why when you turn the news off, sometimes you help yourself.
Yeah, and watch things that make you happy.
Right.
You know, it's the difference between my sitting in the garden and surrounding myself with flowers, or do I want to sit around and, surround myself with like weeds?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd rather sit around and be surrounded by flowers.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's somebody who's got a statement for your garden, Jeffrey.
Hmm?
Cultivate joy, beauty, and love every day as one tends their own garden. Think of your life as a garden.
Yep. 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 And actually, on my website, I have a meditation on joy. It's
Mm-hmm.
a meditation on joy, and it's really simple. It's really simple. And people are like, oh, it like just concentrate on, you go into your heart and you think of something that makes you happy. So it
Mm-hmm.
could be flowers, it could be the sunshine, it could be children, it could be puppies, it could be ice cream, whatever. And you think of that thing that makes you happy and you fill your heart with that energy. And then you intend for that energy to run through every cell and every membrane and you're into your energy sphere. And then you radiate that light, you radiate that joy. You tap into it, you plug
Mm-hmm.
into it. And flying a kite, go, hula hooping, being in the sandbox, cooking something, whatever it is, because it's different for different, maybe like a waterfall makes you happy, or a rainbow or something. And you cultivate that energy, and sometimes you have to pretend, and that's okay. And you fill that and you send it down, you radiate that down to the earth, and you send that joy down
Mm-hmm.
to the earth, and you receive, and you do that a few times. And then from your heart, you go up to your angels and guides and radiate joy into heaven. I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad my arms work. I'm so glad I can see, or sort of see. I'm so glad I have food in the refrigerator. I'm so glad the water is running.
Right. Maria in
Leave it
Perfect
that.
Health, she's going to check out your thing. You should. Jeffrey has several really good meditations
Thank
on
you.
his site. They're very soothing. And when he was practicing them, he sent them all to me, and they're great. And the other thing is fake it till you make it. It does work.
It really does work. And
Because
because when you asked me to do this with you, and I was thinking about it, I saw this thing a million years ago on YouTube. Well, maybe half a million years. I don't want to exaggerate.
back with the dinosaurs.
And they said smiling, okay? Whether you believe it or not, when you start smiling, even if you're like not particularly happy,
Mm-hmm.
it changes your whole chemical out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it changes everything. So it's like you smile and it changes things in your body and in your brain and in your energy sphere. It's like,
Right.
really? Whether you believe it or not. So I think it's good to watch like comedies, or, something that's like delightful, that makes you like laugh, or, just watch like a comic that you like, or a sitcom that you like, and laugh and smile.
Right.
Like,
She says it requires energy to fake it, but once you do it for a while, it becomes natural.
yeah, yeah. It almost, it's almost uh, like it's habitual. It's
Yeah.
habitual. Yeah.
You got to
And
get those muscles working again.
but frowning also is sort of habitual, and that's why it's important to surround ourselves with like happy people, with people who are
Mhm,
optimistic, with people who are looking forward to the future, as opposed
mhm,
to, oh, la, 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 la. And I've been talking about it even before the fire. If you watch my channel regularly, it's really about, how can I love myself more? How
mhm.
can I love myself more? How can I bring more delight and more happiness and more wonder into my life? And, I really do try to do that a lot. So yesterday I had a lovely day. I went to the park, I listened to the trees, I went for lunch, I got a haircut. And of course, there was another place that they sell plants. And, it's like they're waiting for me. I'm like a little addict. It's like, oh, which one am I going to get today? So I ordered a new plant, and it's in the house, and it's, shining and, blooming. And Makes me happy.
Yep. And Monday, I went and voted early. I mean, like early in the morning, and walked right in. It wasn't crowded and none of the big long lines I heard about in other places. But I know how to look through the voter things, the records, and see which polling places don't get a lot of activity. And this one's really close to me, and nobody goes there. And so I went and I decided I'm going to go there. And then my gift to myself for being a good child and getting up and doing that was to take myself to have breakfast at my favorite greasy spoon and eat all the foods I normally don't eat for breakfast, like hash browns and ham
I love
and
hash.
biscuits and gravy. You know, I know. So I was sitting in this cafe, and it's one I've gone to for years, and the way the tables are set up, you can look across, and the guy that was sitting across from me at another booth, he had the most gorgeous smile. I mean, the rest of him was a little rough looking, but he had the most gorgeous smile. So as it happened, the two of us got up to get out at the same time. And he walked up, he opened the door for me, and I said, "May I say, when I was sitting at my table, your smile just made me feel so warm." And he said, "You don't know how much I need to hear that today." He said, "I've been having a hard time, and I've just been deciding to smile and not dwell on it." So it was a perfect lesson for, he smiled, I complimented him. You could see him lift, something noticed me and it was positive. And it did, it made me feel better. I mean, of course, when I go to the polls, there are a lot of people who don't normally see me. And this one woman says, "How long does it take you to do your hair?" And she said, she said, "I know that's not your hair color." And I said, "No, I don't have to bleach it. My hair is completely white. I do it with a rinse." And so she and I talked for a minute because she's probably about my age because she was the one running the poll, but she had long brown hair, and I'm sure it's not her hair color. I mean, may have been at one time, and it's her hair color because she paid for it. But she said, "I'd like to be able to do something like that, be a little different." But we're getting all kinds of comments. My biscuits and gravy are making everybody hungry.
I know. Do you think you can mail that?
Not to Mexico. By the time you got it, Jeffrey, you wouldn't want to eat it. You can make biscuits and gravy. They just use sausage to make the gravy. I mean, that's the basic sausage gravy.
There's a lot of that here.
Oh, yeah, and you got that. And then it's much easier to be a cheerleader for others. I struggle for being my own. And that is another part of finding happiness.
Do things that make you happy. And, and I talk about this a lot on my channel too. It's like, just because gardening makes me happy doesn't mean it will make you happy. Just because cooking makes me happy, like, do the thing that you want to do. Like, no, what makes me happy is to go to the five and dime store. Okay. What makes me happy is to walk around the park. Okay. What makes me happy is to, I don't know, sew, uh, uh, whatever.
Well, Patricia's made a good comment. I'm more aware than ever before to be my own cheerleading section.
Yeah.
It helps with my self-awareness. And
Yeah.
it does. And just that's what we're talking about, choice. Do you choose to wake up today and be your own best friend instead of having to hold
Well,
everyone
Patricia
back?
always has the best comments, I have to say.
Well,
yeah, because yesterday I had the day off. Like today I'm going to get the stitches removed from this eye. So yesterday was really like my free day. Also because I can't really use my email, so it's sort of like, okay, what are you going to do?
Jeffrey explained. Jeffrey had cataract surgery. That's where the stitches came from. He didn't run into a mugger in the street. So
yeah, it's much better than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to wait to get the prescription for reading glasses, then I could see more clearly. But so I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I was going to do this and I was going to do that. And I was like, what's the thing that's going to make you the most happy today? And I was like, going to the park. So like I dropped everything and I stopped with like doing all this stuff in my head. It was like, just get to the park. And that's what I did. And I laid down with the trees and they gave me really beautiful information and feeling. And I'm sitting by this tree and my vision isn't, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And there were all these lizards climbing all over this tree. I was like, oh,
Oh, that's the fire element of the earth talking to you. Those are fire elementals.
it's hot.
Lizards are fire elementals. They're
I-
bringing you energy.
yeah, it was really tremendous. It was really tremendous. And then I went and got like a lovely lunch with a very handsome waiter. And then I got my hair cut, and then I went and bought plants, and la 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 la. So I had a really lovely day.
Yeah.
But it started with like, what's the thing that's going to make me the most happy, and let me just go do that instead of, oh, I have a responsibility of that, and I really want to do this, and like that's the thing that's going to make me the most happy, and it's different for all of us, which is
Hmm.
makes it interesting. And I love that what you were talking about, like it's infectious, because sometimes like the metaphor I use is like make believe we're all like a petri dish, right?
Hmm.
So my job, like let's say I'm orange, right? My job is to be the brightest orange I can be. But if you're blue, your job is to be the brightest blue you can be. And if you're
Hmm.
yellow, then that's, to be the brightest yellow. And then it becomes a whole thing instead of us all being the same color, which is a little dull. So it becomes like, I don't know, like a dish of candy.
And this is Patricia's comment to you. Hi, thanks, Jeffrey. I'm always working on myself to bring up greater fulfillment, and that's what you need to do.
See?
And I agree. I don't have to work in an office. Well, I work in my own office and I talk to my kids, but sometimes you don't get a voice in there. So when o'clock comes, you're good. And that's just understanding the situation, shielding yourself. One thing I will tell you about gardening is I read a bunch of studies about how when you work with the soil and you plant things and stuff, there's little microbes in the soil. They get on your hands and they get in your skin and they get in your body, and they're all beneficial.
Hmm.
And that's why kids who were never allowed to go outside and play and didn't get out and get dirty and stuff, they get more infections because they have less of what the earth creates to help protect us.
Hmm.
So, and you know, right now I'm battling something that brings me down, which is my wrist is, I can't shuffle cards. This is tragic if you're a tarot reader. I can read pendulums and I can read my garden, but I can't shuffle cards without it hurting eventually. And I'm going to drive everybody away. She's talking about bad stuff. Anyway, what I'm trying to do is pull my energy into my body today, in the early morning when I finally said I have to get some sleep. I turned on a meditation that is to pull all your energy back into your body. Because
Great.
trust me, my energy wants to get as far away from my left wrist as it can. And I'm going to go see a chiropractor tomorrow and see what we can straighten it out, or find out what it is, And I'm not afraid of it. It's just uncomfortable, and you just turn a funny way. And I think that's, my wrist is sort of a metaphor for when we're in painful spots. You can either, I know how to hold my hand so it's not going to hurt more.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm doing to try and help it learn how to be better
Hmm.
and blank it out of my mind. Um,
But I think pulling your energy into your body and into your energy sphere, I think that's also a big part of this. Like, okay, so let's say cooking makes me happy. It's like really be in slicing that onion. Really be in what pot am I going to use? Really be in how much salt am I going to use? Like really be
mhm.
there with it and in it. And then like the dish really kind of takes on its own life. Now I'm getting hungry too.
Yeah, we're going to make everybody's going to get off. They're diving off the channel to go get something. So, yeah. Um, Jen's here. Jen Miranda, thank you. Happy Thursday. It is a happy Thursday. And it's going to be,
I'm a Thursday. I'm a Thursday.
you are.
I'm a Thursday. Yeah.
I had carpal tunnel once. This feels different, but I'm going to go to a chiropractor tomorrow to see. Um, and I did wear a brace on it, but then the brace got to the point it was holding in a place where it hurt more. So after the show, I'll put the brace back on and go sit quietly and try and watch some of the new shows I'm finding that are amusing to me, and maybe watch some science shows. There's some fascinating stuff happening in earth science. This is where I go when I want to get out of my own problems. There's I can't remember what his show is called, but he's Ukrainian, but he lives in Australia, so he has the weirdest accent you've ever
I
heard.
know who you mean.
Yeah,
I don't. I've seen his. I
and he
know.
pops in, and his things usually aren't very long.
Yeah.
He just did a show about how the Earth, land on the Earth, is remelting back into the core of the planet,
Well.
and it's really weird. They've spotted a spot in the Andes where it's happening, and they've seen it. And there's also a part in um, the Caucasus in the mountains where they it happened a long time ago, continues to happen. But when we have earthquakes, the earth can liquefy for a while.
Mhm.
Well, what happens is this happens very, very, very slowly. And there's a science experiment in Australia that's been going on 300 years. And it takes 20 to 40 years for another of this gooey looking element to drop. And so they have the whole experiment there that's been there for 200 years over this beaker. And one dropped in 2022. And they've got a camera on it all the time. The earth is doing the same thing.
Mhm.
And so it's changing kind of the balance. And it was also part of them. They're trying to figure out these new continents they found under the ocean.
Mhm.
So and I think I've been there. I think that's where the elementals moved to when they couldn't take it up here with us anymore. But I love to watch those kind of shows.
I like to watch ancient history.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
And this is a show I recommended to everybody. Any new shows? Jen Miranda got there's a new season of Dead Boy Detectives. That's on Netflix. It's coming soon. But you'd love this show, Jeffrey. Whoever studied it got the metaphysics right. And especially when it comes to the elementals, what their temperament is like.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dead Boy Detectives, they died in different parts of the 1900s. And they died on the same school campus in England. And they've been trying to hide from death, trying to take him across the Rainbow Bridge. They don't consider Rainbow Bridge.
Cool.
And so they help out of it's if you want to show that, like, the people who are witches, spellcasters, elementals that live in the water and stuff, because these all end up working with them. The Dead Boy Detectives is a great show to watch.
What's it on?
Netflix.
Oh, okay. I don't have Netflix, but maybe it'll come to YouTube eventually.
Yeah, it'll make its way around. And the other one I watch.
I like to learn stuff. I mean, I like to be entertained, but I really like to learn stuff. Like that really makes me happy. So I like to watch a lot of this ancient civilization stuff and archaeology and mythology like that.
Mhm.
I know it's not, that's my thing. What can I tell you?
What's that one called?
I also, you know what I also like to watch? I like to watch those singing shows.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I
they're
love
doing
to
it
see
now. The
people like
voice.
express themselves, and I really like those. And I don't watch the competition. I just watch them singing, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
like that's enough for
Oh
me.
yeah, and really the voice they haven't had a real asshole on there in a long time, and I
Mm.
probably just blew our monetization, but that's okay. I'm trying to find there's some. Oh no, go away, Rory Duff. I don't want you. Thank you. I love Rory Duff, but this has nothing to do with him. There's a couple shows. There's an antique show where these people they're either and I'm trying to get the name for you because I have it on my phone. I just don't remember shows by their names anymore. And I was watching. And they get in a car.
Oh, I've seen that.
Antiques Road Trip. Antiques Road Trip,
Yeah.
and they're either collectors or they are people who work in auctions. And what they do is they give them a couple $100 and they send them all around England to all these antique places and all these historical places, and they let them they get stuff and they gather it up, and then they go to an auction house and you see who wins. And I've learned so much about pottery and different things that
Yeah, the British ones seem to be better at the antiques. Maybe because they have more stuff. Because
oh
they,
god, I mean they've got stuff that's hundreds of years old.
yeah. Because I used to watch that other guy, the one who had the antique store in Wales.
Oh, Drew.
Right, right. I don't think he's on the air anymore, but he was on for a
His
long time.
reruns are, you can find him.
Yeah, he's really good.
And he goes into all these old estates where people are trying to clear out stuff or
Oh
they
my God,
want to make money.
the coolest crap.
Yep.
And he even went to remember when he went to Belgium and he went to Norway and he
Mhm.
went, yeah, yeah. There's a fantastic place here. It's like an outdoor vintage on Sundays.
Mhm.
They have furniture and lighting and like pictures and frames and sconces you can put on the wall and ashtrays and all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
And I love going there. It's so fascinating, so fascinating. And I bought a few things. I don't buy too much because
Well, you live in a 2-bedroom apartment. What are you going to do with it all?
well, for me it's a big apartment.
Yeah, it's because you lived in New York.
I would love to get some vintage like plant stuff. That would be cool.
Mhm.
But that makes me happy. I love to see things that are well designed, that are beautifully made, that are unusual shapes. I mean, that inspires me too, to see different shapes and textures and colors. And
Mhm.
sometimes the inspiration can come from like places you'd never expect.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I like to do that. I like to do that.
those are
Yeah.
fun things. I used to work in the design district in Dallas. I ran the American Society of Interior Designers for the state of Texas, and I got invited to all of the auction houses. And it's fascinating the stuff that pops up in auction houses.
Oh, I know. I know. And they have some colonial furniture here. There's a museum really close to my house too.
Hmm.
Like it's almost like they have these bureaus or these armoires that it's almost like intarsia. Like they'll do like a piece of wood that's like half the size of this.
Hmm.
And one is like a light wood and one is like a dark wood, and then they make like a star out of it, but the whole armoire is made like that. It's like you've got
Hmm.
kidding me.
Yeah, I know.
Unbelievable amount of craftsmanship here. Unbelievable. And that makes me happy to see that.
And thank you, Eliza. I will do check on my vitamin D levels. I actually have a chart that I can check with my pendulum if I'm low on anything, and I'll see if that helps. I actually had Dr. Gale scan my body yesterday, and she told me to get to a chiropractor, and she even told me which part of my neck she thinks is actually causing this problem. We'll find out if she's right. Yeah, you got to be careful when you go into antique stores. I used to work in a vintage shop, and I was so obsessed because the first week I was working in there, this couple came in, this young couple, and they were so excited to find these vintage coffee tables. And those were coffee tables that were in my best friend's house when we were little.
Well,
Things of my childhood are vintage now. Of course, I'm that old. You gotta, time moves on.
well, my new thing is the plants. So, but yesterday I was really good. I mean, I bought a one plant for indoors, but I was looking through, and like at this point, it's like I just want the weird ones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get a snake plant. I don't want a snake plant. I want like the succulents that are the weirdest colors and
Yes.
flowers that I haven't seen before. So when I went yesterday, it was like, I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this. It was like, okay, good. But in a few weeks, I'm going to go. There are plant markets here. That's the thing that, there are plants that grow here that I've never seen before. Because it's a weird, Mexico City is a funny place because it's like we get temperate and tropical simultaneously. So cactus can grow like crazy and succulents can grow, but there's also oaks and there's also pines and there are like a rubber tree that you would have in your house. They're trees here. They're trees.
Mm.
They're tree, like literally on the street, a tree.
Mm-hmm.
One day I was walking and a leaf hits me on the head. And I'm like, that's that's a rubber plant. That's a rubber plant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God. Well, this is where rubber is from.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it's got everything. It's got everything because it's tropical in terms of like the latitude, but it's so high that also temperate thing. It's like this cross. So everything grows here.
Yep. You're on the mountains, but you're in.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Mexico City is pretty far south in Mexico if you don't know the geography of the place. And
it's 19 latitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, Linda, I've never paid $7 for $3,000 boots. She got some Calvin Klein knee highs that had sold for $3,000 when they were new.
What? Really?
Mm-hmm. She went to the Goodwill store. I have a friend named Sherilyn who lives in Denver, and she runs she buys vintage things. She has a booth somewhere in Denver. Denver confuses me. And she goes to Goodwill and she buys, they junk jewelry. They just don't bother to sort it and just pour a bunch of junk jewelry, and you can pay $25 for this pickle jar full of jewelry. She's found real gold and diamonds in there.
Wow. I know somebody who found a beautiful peridot.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought she bought it like as fake, like completely round. It's like a globe. And then it comes to find out that it was worth like $1,000.
Yes, peridot's an interesting gem. In some of the meteors that hit the Earth and become meteorites, when they'll slab them up to see what's inside of them. And I saw one that had been slabbed, and it was full of peridots. So it was like looking at a church window.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. It's one of the earliest gems, and there was a reader who was very attached to extraterrestrial things, and her guides had told her she should get peridot. And she said, what could that possibly mean? And I said, that's some of the first stuff. That was some of the first stuff created when we had whatever the Big Bang was. That's one of the elementals. It's also called olivine, which gives you an idea of what colors it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and Jeffrey and I, besides this intriguing conversation, hi, Dr. Gail. I'm going to the chiropractor tomorrow. We are teaching a tarot class, and we're going to teach another one towards the end of the year. And if you're interested in that, you can go to my website, which, if you can see it, is underneath my picture. It's www.crystalconnections.com.
I'm even going to find the card of happiness. I mean, there are a couple of cards of happiness. But
Yes.
one, I'm even going to find it. It's somewhere here in the deck. I promise.
There are good cards. So we're teaching the tarot class again. And also, I'm taking reservations now for people who want their year-long forecast done for 2025. It's my 12-month reading. You can find that on my website also. Yes, Hawaiian volcanoes, not only to produce peridot, but there's somewhere in the South Seas where there's a peridot beach where all the rock got worn off, and you can pick it up, and it's just little tiny peridots.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the card of happiness.
Yes.
It's a card of joy, dancing streets.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something we have to, it's easy and lazy to watch something, on whatever platform, and it's like, oh, the world's coming to an end. It's like, tune into something else.
Right.
Tune into something else. It's kind of like going to a restaurant. What do you want to eat? Like, what do you feel like? You know?
Eliza says there are green sand beaches. Those are paired up in Hawaii. They're there.
I was just watching this thing about Guyana, and there's a shell beach, and it's like completely shells, but all broken up because the Atlantic is so strong at this part of the coast,
Mhm.
and all these turtles show up, and that's where they lay their eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I know about the Alaskan pyramid could fill a teacup. I've watched several shows about it. It's not buried under snow. It's under the ground. It's in the middle of the state. It's in the wild territories. It's a great place if you want to hide a pyramid, Linda, because nobody's out there.
A couple of polar bears.
No, polar bears don't get that far inland.
Oh yeah, because they need to be near the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I mean, I know a lot about the pyramids here in Mexico, and some about Peru.
Mm-hmm.
I concentrate on Mexico because I live here.
Yeah.
Like, there's information for me here.
Jeffrey, this is someone who, the Three of Cups, she took a tarot class and the teacher called it the Three Drunken Broads.
Okay.
Whatever helps you remember.
I don't really see it like that, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, go find things that are fun, that refresh you. They had National Geographic.
That feel good in your body.
Right. Yeah, National Geographic had a series on witch trials, and I taped them, fully expecting to watch them. I get about 5 minutes in, and I'd go, "That looks way too familiar." Click. So, if anybody has a question, type it in now. You got about 5 minutes.
Or things that make you happy. What do you do to make yourself happy? What, because maybe you'll ignite something in somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
I don't know.
I never thought of that.
What also makes me happy? Aside from the weather here, there are really a lot of children here. There are really a lot of children on the street. A lot of little kids. And they're like kids, they're playing with all kinds of stuff. They're talking. And it's like, they just delight me.
Mm-hmm. Miss Orchid's Garden loves working in her garden. That definitely makes her happy.
Me too.
And she said she didn't. She types that she meant to say playing in the garden, not working. How does someone send you a buck or two to help with your eye surgery, Jeffrey?
If you go to Ripe Color on YouTube, there should the GoFundMe link should be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Earthing and collecting shells, feathers, rocks, and enjoying the sky, the plants. That makes me happy.
I like the sky too. I'm very fortunate. I realize not only, because my roof is like the top floor, but there are no real tall buildings around me. And it depends on the day, but I could see the mountains all around. So I get to see the mountains, and the sky changes really daily here. Because sometimes we have rainy season, we have a lot of clouds, sometimes it's really clear. I was actually able to see stars a couple of nights ago, which blew my mind. I saw Orion's belt, and I was like, wow. And then I wish I knew more about astronomy. Because sometimes it's like, well, that's a really big one. That's probably a planet, but is it Jupiter? Is it Venus? What is it? You know?
You can go to NASA, and they have a star chart. Put in where you are, and they'll tell you what's in the sky above
Oh,
you.
good.
Playing and loving animals. That's a good one. And this is another person. Animals make her happy.
Beautiful.
And Eliza's mother collected stones from various places around the country. She had no idea if they wanted to come with her or not. Eliza, if they don't want to be there, they'll get lost. That's how I can tell. If you lose a piece of jewelry, there's something in that jewelry that didn't want to be with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Patricia likes to walk along beaches and see what you can find. That's fun.
You know what also makes me happy? I like to go deep into like the center of the city where they sell like you have no idea. It's like the most giant bazaar in the world. It's like, what's down there? And some people like, oh, I don't really like that many people. Like I'm there. And it's like this crazy, and they're all barking, trying to sell their stuff. And it's like, oh yeah. That's the most crowded street. That's the one I'm going to go down.
Yes.
For an hour or two.
Get a hold of free Skywatch. This is true. Jeffrey, you can find this on the internet. Stellarium. I'll send you the link. I have it on my computer.
I need the prescription so then I can see. I mean, I can see much clearer. Don't get me wrong. I got both done, and I can see details. I can see colors that I haven't seen in a long time, and I'm really grateful. But like for reading, I'm like, So it's going to be a process, and today I'm getting the stitches removed, and I hope that they give me a prescription, but I have a feeling they're going to say, oh, you need another appointment. We like seeing you. I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay, and this is a word of warning. Her mother, her mother brought home an entity from Newgrange. She picked a stone or something up at Newgrange. Do not pick up things from sacred sites and bring them home with you. Don't pick up rocks from the Grand Canyon. I can tell you about this one. My youngest child went to the Grand Canyon on her honeymoon trip, and her partner picked up a stone and brought it home. Well, while they were gone on their honeymoon, they had a roommate who was helping them pay their rent and was living in the second bedroom. And she was talking to him when they were coming home, and she said, I've had them up here twice to clean out the ants that are just running all over your apartment. And that the complex was very confused because it wasn't what usually happened. So they came home, they had the stone with them, they brought it back. And then I went out to have Japanese food with them. We were talking, and they told me about picking this rock up, and I said, you picked it up out of the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I mean, it went somewhere on the trail. Mm-hmm. And I said, you have to send it back. And they said, what? And I said, if you bring back stones or woods or little things that you don't think anybody's going to notice, just imagine if all the million people went there and took the stuff. But mostly, if it's blessed ground, mm-hmm. you can pick up entities and they'll come tell you, we want to go back home. Mm-hmm. So they kind of laughed at me because dear old mom's a psychic, right? After 2 weeks, they decided it was better. They'd had the exterminator through 3 times. They couldn't figure out where the ants were coming from. They boxed it up, mailed it back, never had another ant. So don't go picking stuff up in sacred places. And Eliza says she didn't bring home a stone. She picked up a spirit when she was at Newgrange. Mm-hmm. That's a very, that's older than the pyramids, and it's incredibly well aligned. And so
it's very interesting living in the Valley of Mexico. The Valley of Mexico is like, people have been here a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Long time. And I mean, that they find they're still finding stuff. I mean, not just under the city, but the park that I go to all the time, like the whole valley is very sacred, actually,
Mm-hmm.
and I can feel it. I think that's why I'm here. I think that's why I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Standing on the gate for all of us, Jeffrey.
And I was telling Nancy earlier that, I tell them in Spanish, I said, oh, I have Aztec blood. That's why my eyes are green, because I eat a lot of cactus and tuna, what they call tuna, or the fruit from the nopal.
Mm-hmm.
Nopal is the cactus, and it's
Yes.
just,
Mm-hmm.
the tuna is really good. It's really odd. And I said, that's why my eyes are green. They're like, but why is your skin white? I was like, because I was a priest and I was inside the temple. I didn't go outside.
Oh dear. You got another person flirting with danger. Linda Bishop knew a man who had some rocks on the table. They were part of the Roman Colosseum.
Mhm.
Whoa. Yeah, kind of.
That's a fascinating place. And what really has energy in Rome is the what the hell is the name of that building? It's the Parthenon. It was the Parthenon there.
Right. Forum.
The Forum. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've never been in a building that felt more part of the earth in my life. It was like
Mm-hmm.
there was this solidness. It was really, really powerful. Really more powerful for me than the Colosseum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I request the most benevolent outcome for Jeffrey,
Thank you.
getting a prescription for reading glasses at your upcoming appointment. We'll
I
keep
want to get ones that are sparkly, though.
Oh, not really. I wouldn't wear those. Jeffrey, you need some 1950 cat's eyes.
That's what I mean.
Oh.
But very subtle sparkly. So when I just go like that, it's like sparkle, sparkle. And you just go, it's like sparkle, sparkle. What do you think?
Yeah, well, my mother had a gold lame cowboy hat
Love that.
and big sparkly sunglasses. And she reached down to pick up my youngest when they were about 2.5, and they screamed and ran away.
Oh,
Okay, this one's the question. Is it okay to buy rocks? Yes. But whenever you bring a rock into your house, cleanse it, whether it's with spray, whether it's with sage, whether it's with smoke. Don't put it in water, because there's a lot of stones that melt in water, and that's how I ruined a perfectly good selenite rod that I had. So don't put it in water, and you can look them up and it'll be a Mohs scale, MOHS. That's how hard the rock is, and it will tell you how you can cleanse them so that you make them safe to be around. And yeah, my mother used to wear gold lame tennis shoes, and she used to send me her clothes when she'd get tired of them. This one, she lived in Vegas, and she'd send me boxes of her clothes, and none of them were anything I would ever wear. Not that she wasn't a dear lady, but her taste in mine was there. And I would take them to the daycare, and the daycare ladies my kid was in Montessori. They'd see me coming with that box, and they'd dig through that box. And I swear every woman in that place had a size 7.5 foot, had a pair of gold lame shoes.
I think that sparkly and shiny and bright and brilliant are fabulous. That's what I think.
Well, she could bring it off. I don't need to do that.
I like
My bedazzling thing is my cape that says they missed one in 1692 that I wear. It's bright orange, and I wear it around Halloween.
See, now what's going to make me happy is going through Centro and looking for the place with the sparkly glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody thinks you need to get LED glasses?
What are LED glasses?
I, uh, if they're okay, I have a pair of glasses with ringtone all around the square lenses, like Elton John.
Ooh.
And somebody said that they're like rhinestones. So
Ooh.
they're going to outfit you, Jeffrey.
Ooh.
Well, I'm
Are
not going
they
to
really big?
anymore. Thank you all for coming. We got to talk about things that make us happy. And it's different for everyone, but remember the basics of this is happiness is 3 degrees of separation. So
Mm.
the more you can bring in happy people all around you. And I'm going to try to talk to Stephen Schwartz and see if he'll come talk about it. Because he talks about all of the stuff that they're studying scientifically that prove what we're saying about how to make yourself happier, go with the flow, how to commit to things. And thank you to each and every one of you. And you made me forget my risk for an hour.
Happy. And all I can think now about is sparkly glasses.
Yeah. We'll have to see what you come up with, Jeffrey. Bye.
Bye.